So we'll start our discussion on Azure DevOps. So what is Azure DevOps model and why is it good and what are the advantages of it? So before speaking about it, let me just introduce myself. I'm Rahiman. You can call me Abdullah Rahiman. So you can just call me Abdullah. And I have 2 years of IT experience, both spanning in Bangalore and Hyderabad. So these are the companies I've worked with: Ness, Arison, Tesco, and recently in Microsoft. So I moved to Microsoft 3 years back, and that's where I relocated to Hyderabad from Bangalore. So I have extensive experience working on full stack of technologies from Microsoft Stack as well as Mean Stack, your MongoDB, Express, Angular, and Node.js. So your Mean Stack as well as Azure full stack. So I keep working across these technologies real time. That's why I split some time out, and that's where I train people online. So that's what I do usually by taking time out. So this is one of my part times which I keep doing. So these are the companies which I have been associated with, and I'm a technical lead handling a team of 5. Speaking about my certifications, these are the certifications which I've done. I'm a Microsoft Certified Azure Solution Architect, which will take 3 certifications, essentially 532, 33, and 34, which is developing Microsoft Azure solutions, implementing Azure solutions, and architecting solutions. So essentially, once you're done with these 3, you'll be awarded with this title. So I've done all these 3. And apart from that, I'm also a MCTS, which is Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist, which again is 2 more certifications, which is C# and .NET. So I've done 5 certifications essentially to get these 2 titles. That's on my certifications front. So I give trainings both offline as well as online. This is one of my recent offline trainings which I've given on Azure again. You can see the containers and the VMs on the slide. So I keep training people both offline and online, and that's one of the part-time things which I keep doing. So right away, moving to the points, what we want to discuss in this demo. So what are the what we will look into as part of our journey to understand DevOps is what are the pain points leading to DevOps? What is it that the current system doesn't offer, which is offered by DevOps? What are the solutions which DevOps gives us? And what are the changes which we need to do in the current system in order to adapt a DevOps methodology? And what are the common objections which you usually get when you speak about DevOps? And what are the supporting technologies which you can use to actually ramp up your existing model or existing infrastructure into the DevOps model? So we'll look at all of this when we start speaking about DevOps. So what are the things which we have? So in the current system is there is panic whenever systems go offline. So if at all you don't have a DevOps kind of infrastructure, so you would not be in a way to handle whenever your systems go offline. There is very less or minimal number of ways in which you can handle the things once the system go offline, and there are repeated mistakes and repeated instances of the same mistake. So you don't learn from your mistakes when you do not have a DevOps integration done in your system. So that is, you don't learn from your mistakes. So if at all there is the serious things which you can look into is, let me just open the notepad. So how would it be whenever you have a real-time scenario or you have a requirement coming in from the client. So whenever there is a requirement coming in from the client, what client gives you is a requirement document. So it is the requirement document, which is essentially just text, which you get from the client. Once you have the text from the client, it is your responsibility and my responsibility as a technical person, as a developer, to come up with something called as a technical document. So what will this do? It will essentially go ahead and spin all the things which I have in my requirement document into a technical aspect. It will give a technical perspective of what the requirement is. And this technical document is what is reviewed by your technical lead or architect. They'll go ahead and review it. Once they say, yeah, it looks good, and the technical document matches what is present in the requirement document, then you would go ahead and start coding for the requirement. Once you start coding for the requirement, the next step, what you do, so if I just put it this way, once you start coding for the requirement, the next step is you will do unit testing, so that your code is good and it is in a healthy format. You will do unit testing. Once your unit testing is done, that's where you would deploy the code. Where will you deploy it? There are different environments which different teams maintain, like staging, dev, QA, integration, IAT, PPE, pre-production environment, and production environment. You'll be having multiple environments in a team. It all depends upon your team of how many environments you want to maintain. But depending upon your team's infrastructure, there will be multiple environments in which your code would be deployed into staging environment, dev environment. That's where you would go to production environment. Once your all stages are done, you will be deploying your code live. So there are multiple environments in which you go ahead and deploy your code. Once you're done with deployment of the code, testing and deploying, you would be first initially deploying it in staging. Once you deploy it in the staging environment, that's where QA comes into picture, and they will go ahead and test your code. Once they test your code, they'll raise bugs, and you would go ahead and resolve the bugs. Once you're done resolving the bugs, that's where your code is healthy. Now your code would be deployed to production. Essentially, it goes through all the stages, and then it will be going live. This is how you would have a typical scenario in your real time, how code would flow right from requirement document to deploying it to production. So there are multiple things which happen before you actually go live. So when you are going live, whenever you're doing these things, if you don't have tight integration between this, or if you don't learn from where we are missing out, why are so many bugs being leaked to QA? What are the things which are not in place? If you don't concentrate on these things, then there will be like there is no learning which is happening. So you would be doing repeated mistakes as part of your day-to-day activities, and your recovery is slower, and you will be having low faith in the IT. Essentially, your client will not have any faith in the IT just because you do not have any process in place. What DevOps does, it will let you have process in place. So that's what DevOps will help you do. It will keep a standard process in place, and which is pretty much famous now. This is one thing which is being used across your different products across the different corporates. So they are excessively using CI/CD pipelines. You probably have heard about it. So your CI/CD, your continuous integration and continuous delivery or deployment. So essentially, you keep on having a pipeline in place so that your entire infra is healthy. So you keep these things in place, and this is pretty famous. And why is it so famous? It is us versus them with a little transparency. Why? What do you mean by us versus them? So if I just go to my whiteboard, what are the teams you have inside your IT system? You have development team, you have QA, in a typical infra, you would be having database team, you would be having build and deploy, and you would be having some other team, which is your production support. So you would be having these multiple teams which are working along. And anytime you say there is a production issue, it would be like the support team did not take care of it well. The support team says development team did not give us quality code, which is deployed. The development team says database team is the guy who is responsible. He did not build the SP properly. And or sometimes you say the deployment did not went fine. That is because of the build and deploy team. The QA did not test it well. It is like it's not me who is to build. It is this guy, and this guy says it is this guy. So essentially, there are teams which are fighting with each other. It is us versus them. So it's not me, it's them. They say it's not us, it's them. So essentially, there is always a fight whenever you have this kind of infrastructure. That's why more and more companies out there are moving towards the DevOps model. There are advantages of DevOps model, and you can eradicate all these team fights, which usually happen inside regular teams. So you can just eradicate multiple teams, and you can just have one team, which is DevOps specialized. So there are its own advantages. We'll speak about it as we move through our sessions. But for now, just understand that DevOps enabled professionals can work end to end. They need not depend on any teams for the things to get done. So it is a developer who can take care of testing his application. It is a developer who can take care of building his database. So essentially, we were speaking about the internal fights which happen across the teams, which are present in a ecosystem. When we get DevOps model into your system, and you are a DevOps engineer, you need not worry about all this. So you would be one guy who would be responsible end to end. So it is a much cleaner fashion or much cleaner way when we are having one guy who is capable of taking care of everything which happens inside the DevOps ecosystem. We'll see how we can enable one guy to work on and take responsibility of all of these teams and work across teams. This is one of the best reasons why we should be DevOps oriented. So if you are a DevOps professional, it's very easier for you to get consumed in the market. So the market demand is pretty high on the DevOps front just because of this internal fighting which happens in a regular environment. So once you have a DevOps pattern which is established, you don't have these different teams working with different motors. So that is what can be avoided. That is what is the us versus them, and the IT teams having their own incentives. You don't have anything of that sort once you have a DevOps professionals inside. So you can see even in the market, the pull towards DevOps is more. So more and more people are looking for DevOps professionals, and you can see the ask is going high. And as and when the years go by, you can see that the entire environments are working in the DevOps way, because that is a very brilliant way to execute your real-time product or project. So we'll see what are the advantages of it over time. But for the demo, just stick to the point that DevOps is a brilliant culture shift when you actually speak about an environment which needs to be incorporated within your development cycle or your production cycle. And once you have these fights happening across the teams in a regular environment, you lose focus on the customer. You would be fighting among yourselves. Ultimately, the product is losing. So when you're having these many teams working across and you don't have DevOps incorporated, your product is the thing which is being shown bad to the customer, and the customer is having a negative impression. So you're losing focus on your customer, and the only thing which is happening in your teams is fighting among themselves in a regular pattern. So what would happen? You would lose talent because there is no good culture which is being maintained in the team. It would never happen once you incorporate DevOps. But essentially, in a regular team, you would lose customer focus, and there would be a bad team structure, because of which you would be having a bad culture, because of which people keep leaving. So essentially, what do you achieve inside a DevOps culture. So you can increase the value given to the customer. You can respect your people in your team because now you have you just have one or two people or the number of people who are present inside your team are responsible for the end-to-end flow of your entire infrastructure. How are they responsible for it? We'll speak about it. And what do you learn once you shift from your regular culture into a DevOps culture? So essentially, you learn that the focus is more on the customer value, and you will eliminate waste. Essentially, you do not have any learnings which you do. Whenever you are doing this, whenever we are having different things which we need to do once the requirement comes in, and the other things which we need to do before we actually go to the production deployment, you are having multiple things which you will take care of. So you are having multiple wastages which happen. We'll speak about all those wastages and how are we eliminating those wastages when we speak about a DevOps model. So we can eliminate those waste and we can have one piece of flow. So essentially, we are CI/CD. We'll speak extensively about continuous integration and continuous delivery. Build these two. You need to build pipelines. There are build pipelines, there are release pipelines. You need to build these two to actually go ahead and help the CI/CD pipeline. So we'll speak about how to build pipelines and release pipelines, and what is CI/CD. How will it help me achieve more when I actually work in a real-time environment? We'll speak about all that. Then that is where you will get a good idea about what is one piece flow. So it is just one flow which will take care of everything in your project. We'll speak about that. We have continuous learning, which we do when we have a DevOps culture, and we can eliminate overburdening of people. So we need not overburden people because everything is automated now. The more automation comes in, the less the people would be burdened. So everything would be as a simple pipeline which would be triggered as and when you check in the code. So we will eliminate the overburdening of people, and we do not have any constraints or theory of constraints on any of the people. Essentially, you get more clarity on one piece flow and eliminating the burden once we start speaking about the build pipelines and release pipelines and where to integrate what. All of that will come to know once we start working on the actual portal and once we start working on the actual DevOps essence. The more clarity would be built in coming sessions. For now, just understand it is easier. So, what are the things which we will have when we speak about DevOps model? So, in when we are defining DevOps model, there is something called as CALMS, CALMS. So, this is what is being changed when you are moving from existing environment into a DevOps model. So your culture, your C is your culture, people and process at the full forefront. So it is people who would contribute to your product. So the shift is and the stress is more on the employees. You will respect your employees just because of the dependency or just because of what they do end to end. Because now he is not a specialized guy. Your employee is not a specialized guy who can just do development. He can also do his own testing and he can do database integration. He can build and deploy. And even when it goes to live, he can go ahead and do the product support. So he is a 360-degree employee now. So you build more respect for him and your culture would be shifted. That is, your manager and your seniors would actually respect you more because of the multiple things which you can take care of because you are a DevOps professional now. The A is you're automating things. So as a DevOps professionals, we automate. You would automate things. That's what is the key to the current culture. We automate as much as possible. Whatever is present, which is manually done in a current culture, we keep on automating things. How do we automate it? We have multiple ways we can automate things when we speak about CI/CD and Azure. We'll speak about it. So that is what is the A of your comms. Then you have a lean architecture. That is essentially is applying lean principles to IT. What is lean? What is a lean architecture, and how do you apply it? We'll speak about it. Then you have M for metrics. You can measure things now. So what is it? You can measure extensively and use it to improve. So essentially, what is metrics? You have something like application insights. Let me just go to the portal. Something like application insights. If you ever saw this, I don't know how much of exposure you have to Azure and this tool. Let me just elaborate it a little bit. So this is my application insights view. What am I having here? I just log my information. How do you log your information? You'll just log your information whenever you have deployed your application in code. You will log information. What do you log? You log errors. You log warnings. You log multiple things. So you keep on logging things, and you log it in text. There is something called as application insights, which is a brilliant AI. It's artificial intelligence built in the cloud. And once you integrate it with your application, all you have to do is once you integrate, once you have AI in place, you'll just integrate it with your current application, which is already there. You can integrate AI or application insights with any of the current projects. Once you integrate it, it starts understanding your information which you're logging. So what is it that it is saying? You had 477 crashes, and these are the number of crashes you had, and these are the dates at which you had crashes. You have these many users who are impacted, 476 users. You have multiple versions, and your 2.1.0 version, it has crashed 361 times. Then what is it saying in this chart? What are the number of total results which you have rendered to the client between the last 7 days? So how many times did your application return a good response? Saturday 25th, Thursday 23rd, according to the date as well. What are the exceptions which are raised, and what is the call stack of the exceptions, and what is the exception looking like, and what are the things which are logged in the exception? All of this, you did not write even one line of code for it. All what you see here on the screen is application insights doing it. What is it doing? It is reading your log text file, and it is giving you brilliant graphs you can work with. That's what is application insights for you. So these are the things which will help you write the metrics. That's the M of your comms. So essentially, you can capture metrics and what's happening with my application at different points of time. I can see that by having AI application insights, which is again artificial intelligence, which is incorporated within your application. There are multiple ways in which you can monitor your application once you move to the DevOps model. This is what is one of the examples which I just said. Is this the only thing? No, there are multiple ways in which you can monitor your application. Application insights is one of the ways. That's your M. Your S is your sharing. You continuously learn by sharing knowledge, and you have once you have a DevOps engineer, you keep on learning and evolving because you can see in the marketplace likely to recommend their teams to others. So once you are having a DevOps engineer, there are more chances that this engineer says the culture in this team is very good, wherein DevOps is integrated because there is less noise and everything is automated. So your engineer's life is very good. Once you have the pipeline in place, all you have to concentrate on is coding and getting the things done because all the things are streamlined. That is one more advantage what you get once you work with DevOps. So this is the official report stats which you see on screen. That is what is a graph which I am showing you. So there are multiple things and multiple tools which come at different stages. you will start with your planning phase, and then you will move to your issue tracking phase. Then comes your source control, build, testing, continuous integration, continuous deployment, configuration management, cloud platforms. What are the different kinds of cloud platforms? Monitoring and logging. So you have multiple building blocks which you can go through once you start working as a DevOps professional. And this is what is the tool chain. I see some noise. Can someone mute? If at all you have no questions, you can just mute. Once you have any questions, you can unmute and ask me any questions. No issues about it. So you have multiple building blocks which are in place, and each building block has its own tools which we can work with. So we will explore what are the tools at each of these building blocks and what does it mean by planning. Where do you start your planning of your product? How do you issue track your issues? And what is the source control? What are the different kinds of source control that DevOps can work with? Is it only Git? Is it only TFS? Is it only some other repository, or are there, it can work with multiple? We'll explore that. What is the way in which you can build things? What is the way in which you can test the things? So we will speak about unit testing, integration testing, and load testing. We'll speak about different testings which we can get in place. Your automation testing using Selenium and stuff. We'll speak about how we can incorporate it within our release pipeline. So all of this will come in place once we start exploring each of these blocks. So in our sessions, we'll keep on exploring each of these blocks, and we will learn more about what is. So you have one thing which is cutting across this, which is communication, and which is knowledge sharing. So you essentially keep on sharing knowledge across these layers, because it is just a DevOps engineer who is working across these layers. So that is what is one thing we will concentrate on, of how you can communicate better across these layers and how you can share knowledge across these layers, so that everyone in the team can enhance their understanding of the DevOps tool chain. So now quickly let me go to the DevOps portal. So how did I come to this? So your VSTS, if you say VSTS, that is what is Visual Studio Team Services. It is now DevOps. So if you just Google VSTS, he will clearly say on the landing page, VSTS is now Azure DevOps. So they just are renaming it. Very soon you would be not using the term VSTS. You would be using the term Azure DevOps. So it's a DevOps pipeline model which is used in VSDA. That's why they are just moving away from this naming convention to the Azure naming convention. Once you say sign in, before coming to the next session, go ahead and create one account inside VSTs and land on the landing page. We will come to the landing page, how to move forward from that, how to create a repository, how to check in a repository, how to build, how to release, how to deploy, what are the environments in which you can deploy. We'll speak about all of that. But first, as a first step, go to VSTS, click on the sign in button. You would not, if you don't have any Microsoft account, go ahead and say create one, and go ahead and create an account and link your phone number. If you don't want to link your mail ID, there are multiple ways. Go ahead and create an account. And I already have an account. That's where I am able to log in, and you're seeing the landing page of Azure DevOps portal. You can see Azure DevOps here, and this is my landing page. When I am here on the landing page, you have multiple things which are present here, and each of these things we will explore. We will not leave any node empty. We'll speak about all the nodes and what comes where. We'll speak about all of that. So what is this Angular fundamentals? This is my project. I keep training people on different things, and Angular is one of the things which I keep training people on. This is my Angular project. And where are the files for this project? The files are here in Angular fundamentals, in the source app. I have all my TS files and stuff like that. So this is essentially a project. So is this the only project I have? I have multiple projects. If you go to my repos, go to my fundamentals course. So you can see the number of projects which I work with. I train people on multiple things, CI/CD, Node, Angular, ASP.NET Core, blah, blah, blah. I keep training people on multiple things. So I have multiple repositories. I just clicked on Angular fundamentals repository. So I keep using Azure DevOps extensively for multiple repositories which I store. And you have multiple nodes here. We will speak about all these nodes. We'll speak about what is boards. How can you create a new work item? What is an epic? What is a user story? What is an issue? What is a feature? And what is a test case? We'll speak about all these things and what goes there. And we'll create issues. We'll create epic. You can directly click on that and start creating. When will you create an epic? And how is epic related to feature or a user story? What are the things that an engineer picks up and starts working on? All of that. Once he starts working on it, how does the board look like? This is your Scrum board. If at all you are familiar with Agile Scrum, this is your Scrum board. So you can just say my initial task. I have my initial task created. It is in new state. I can move it. Now it is in active state and it is assigned to me. Once I'm done with it, I'll move it to the resolved bucket. It will move to the resolved state. Once the QA tests it and everything is good, they will move to the closed state. So you have an interactive way of moving your task across different states in a Scrum board. So this is what is your Scrum board, and you can keep creating tasks, and that's your burn down chart. If at all you have heard about it, this is your burn down chart wherein your Scrum Master would look at what it looks like. We'll speak about different players inside Agile. So there are different names which you keep getting when you look at Agile framework. You have something like PO, who is your product owner. You have Scrum Master. This Scrum Master is the guy who will see where your tasks are moving. So he's responsible for looking at your tasks and is everything Agile way happening the Agile way. Yeah, you would be having a technical lead and you would be having DevOps engineers. Your technical lead again will be DevOps engineer. And there would be no QAs and very minimal QA, not that extensive team. And there would be no build and deploy team and stuff like that because you will take care of build and deploy. You can go ahead and do that. I'll just go to that mode. So you have multiple players which you keep listening to when you look at Agile team, the structure of the Agile team. So we'll speak about all those different players who are involved in Agile team and how they will go ahead and create work items. How should I look at the board? What are the different states and why to move to one state to other? We'll speak about that. We'll speak about what is backlog and what are iterations. How can I assign a task to a particular iteration? Iteration is nothing but a sprint. Once you start speaking about Agile, then you speak about sprints. So all of the teams, all of the corporates out there, 99% of the teams work on Agile sprints. They use Agile methodology, they use sprints. So you need to understand what is Agile, what is sprints, if you don't have any background about it. So it is good for you to understand it because you need to use these terms like iteration, like user story, epic, feature. These terms are very important for you so that the other person understands that you know Agile and you can work on an Agile team. So there is your sprints node. We'll speak about this and how to assign things to a particular sprint and how to keep moving this across different sprints, a user story. We'll speak about what queries are and how can you have your own query. Why will you write a query and other stuffs like that. That is your boards node. We'll speak about repos node. Repos node is where your repository is present. So this is where you have your code present. So all of your code is present inside your repository. That's your repos node. This is where your entire code is present, and your entire code is stored here. What are the commits which you do? All of the commits are present here, and who committed what? What is the history of commit? What are the files that this commit has, and what are the changes that are done in this commit? All of that is highlighted. So these are the files, these are the changes for each of these files. And we'll speak about what is pushes node and what is a pull request. Why we need to do it a pull request? Can I create a new pull request? Yeah. Against what branch? And why do we do a pull request against a specific branch? All of that we'll speak about it once we start speaking about the repos node. What are tags and stuff like that. Then you have the most important node in CI/CD is your pipelines node, which is your build pipeline. So inside my builds is where I'm going ahead and saying, let me go ahead and build a build pipeline. So what are the different things which I can plug to? So you can see I can plug to a Azure repo, a GitHub repo, a GitHub Enterprise Server, Subversion, Bitbucket, or a external Git. So I can plug to different repositories and I can start building my application. So once I build my application, that is where I'll go ahead and create a release for it. For the release, everything is graphical. So you can see I can deploy my build. The build is the guy. Build is the guy who packages my code. Release deploys this package. Who where? You can deploy it to Azure app, a Java app, Node.js, PHP, Python, Kubernetes cluster, or your IaaS, where all it can deploy. It can deploy to 1,000 different things. It is all the way what you want to configure it to. So depending upon what you are configuring it to, it will go ahead and deploy it to that particular location. So that is what is being taken care by deploy. How do we build different stages in deploy? How can we have different environments like your staging, dev, QA, all those different environments, and how can we go ahead and get the things done? That is what we'll speak about in our releases node. Then you have library, task groups, deployment groups. What's a deployment group? And how is deployment group related to your build and release pipeline? We'll speak about all that. Then we'll speak about test plans. What are the test plans? How can you automate tests? That's another thing which we want to avoid. So we want to avoid the QA team. We want to remove this team dependency. We want to remove the build and deploy dependency. How are we removing build and deploy dependency? By creating this CI/CD pipeline. By creating this pipeline, I am removing the CI/CD pipeline. One second. No, actually, by doing one of the each one of these things, I am killing a team. That's why DevOps is so famous. And DevOps, once you have DevOps engineers, by taking care of this testing plans and running the tests myself as a DevOps engineer and getting these things done, I'm killing this team. By doing the pipelines and creating build pipeline, release pipeline and stuff, I'm killing the build and deploy team. And taking care of database myself, I'm killing the database team. And once I have good control, production support will always be there, but I can reduce the count. That's why I did not strike it off. I can reduce the count of engineers because I take care of production as well as a DevOps engineer. That is why more and more people want DevOps engineer because they can remove all these teams and one guy can get the things done. Because it would be a complete a professional who can work on end to end, and the projects can reduce the cost. He can be paid more, that's fine, but he even though he charges more, he would be better than maintaining three different teams. So even though he charges more, it is good for them. Why? Because they are killing all these teams. So that's why you would not see these teams existing in coming future. As and when more and more DevOps engineers come into the market, then more and more corporates will not require these teams, and these teams would go ahead and die off in coming few years. It will take a few years. It is not so fast because there is a demand, there is no supply. There is a demand for a DevOps engineer. There is no supply of those many DevOps engineers. Unless and until they get these many engineers, they can't kill these teams. So unless and until the demand and supply don't meet each other, we still have these teams surviving in the market. As and when these engineers will increase, then you can see that these teams will get duplicated inside your teams. So in the test plans, we'll see what test plans are. How can you run your tests from the cloud, from Azure cloud, and how can you integrate your tests in it, and what is load test? How can you go ahead and do the load test for your application? All of that we'll speak about once we start speaking about different nodes here. Artifacts essentially is adding any additional artifacts within your build and release pipeline. We'll speak about that as well. Essentially, we'll explore each of these things. What are nodes, what are repos, what are the work items which are completed. It will give you a holistic view. We can have different views and we can integrate new views into it, new widgets into it. So all of that we will speak about it once we start speaking about DevOps and why DevOps and how can we push code, how can we pull code, how can we approve a pull request, what are the things which will go in multiple nodes of our DevOps portal. Once we understand this, that would be a 360-degree view of what DevOps would look like. Everything present in one go. That's what is the smartness of Azure DevOps. You need not, you will, from day one till you go to production, you would only land on this page in your real-time environment because these nodes take care of all of your activities. You name it, it has an answer for it. Any activity you want to do as part of your day-to-day activity in your corporate world, it has an answer for it. That's why you would keep on landing on this page and get the things done. So we will understand this in a real good way, and we'll practically do hands-on. You do along with me. It would be both ways. I'll not keep everything theoretical. We need to understand it from the practical perspective as well. That is what we will do. So we'll work on it parallelly, and anywhere you hit any doubts, you'll come back to me and we'll resolve those doubts and we'll move forward. That is the way what we are planning to do these days. So that's pretty much about what I wanted to say during our demo. So you have any questions?